Incredible workers that build our country. Thank you very much to Gord, Jeff, Jamie, and most importantly, thanks to all you, the great workers who literally build our country, without whom I wouldn't have been able to drive here today. There are countless millions of people who rely on your important work that will never know that it was you that put the bridge under their vehicle or the concrete and cement in the walls of their apartment complex. You deserve a good life. You deserve the Canadian promise. Your hard work should get you a beautiful life in a wonderful house on a safe street, protected by our brave troops under a proud flag. That, after all, was the Canadian promise. But after 10 years of the Trudeau-Carney Liberals, housing costs have doubled, food is unaffordable, taxes punish work, crime, chaos, drugs, and disorder reign in our once safe streets. And worst of all, we've lost $500 billion in investment to the Americans, making us more dependent after 10 years of Liberals on President Trump. Speaking of whom, yesterday the President said that having a Liberal Prime Minister would be easier for him to deal with, just as he threatened once again to make us the 51st state. And you know what? On that point, it's true. I'm a strong leader. I'm a tough guy to deal with. I'm firm in my convictions, and I'll always put Canada first. By contrast, in 10 years, the Liberals have blocked resource projects, hiked taxes, and driven $500 billion of investment to the U.S., all while Mark Carney moved his corporate headquarters out of Canada to New York, bringing jobs to the United States of America. Mark Carney will back down, and his Liberal policies will keep Canada weak, just like Trump wants. Giving the Liberals a fourth term will only weaken our country and strengthen Donald Trump. We need a strong, tough leader who will unleash our resources, cut taxes and red tape, build homes, and make our economy less reliant on the Americans, to put Canada first. And that is why I'm here today. About 500 kilometers away from here, 500 kilometers away from Thunder Bay, in Canada's wonderful communities of the North, companies discovered one of the largest untapped areas for rare earth metals in the world. Buried just under their feet was tens of billions of dollars of chromite, cobalt, copper, nickel, gold, and countless other resources that the world is desperate for. It's called the Ring of Fire. They could make Canada very rich. It would be life-changing for Northern Ontario towns, galvanizing thousands of paychecks and modern infrastructure. It would help our First Nations become richer. It would boost our economy with billions of dollars, allowing us to become less dependent on the Americans after we start selling those resources overseas. And it would turn dollars for dictators into paychecks for our people. It would allow us to break our dependence on Beijing for batteries, turbines, solar panels, satellites. So you might be asking, we've known about this place for a long time. Why are there no shovels in the ground? Why are there no paychecks in workers' pockets? Well, the answer is the Liberals did everything they could to block this project. They have a keep it in the ground ideology. They have an anti-resource development policy in C-69. They've been sitting on the permits for 5 years. The process was started by former Liberal Environment Minister Jonathan Wilkinson in February of 2020, about the time when Mark Carney became Justin Trudeau's economic advisor. After he did nothing for 3 years, then Trudeau moved him out and put Stephen Guilbeault in. Guilbeault is a radical environmentalist who's still in cabinet, and he blocked the project. In fact, he came out and said he doesn't want us building any more roads in Canada because he doesn't like cars. So finally, 2 years after that, the Liberals completed their work by creating yet another 2.5-year process that would only lead to another report that won't even decide whether or not the project can go ahead. That report will cost Canadian taxpayers and industry and will get nothing done. This in spite of the fact that the Ontario government is doing exactly the same report. So we have more bureaucrats busy doing paperwork instead of miners digging for minerals. So, after a decade of Liberal keep-it-in-the-ground ideology, the Ring of Fire is on the brink of collapse, not to mention that Bill C-69, the Liberal no new pipelines and resource law, is still in place, making it impossible to get anything approved. A decade has gone by where Canada has had the worst economic growth of all our competitors. The American per capita GDP has grown 40 times faster than Canada's. Investment is leaving our country and making America stronger. The Liberal gatekeepers and red tape have devastated our country before Donald Trump's tariffs, and they are an existential threat after those tariffs. That's why I'm announcing today that my government will set a deadline of 6 months to green light permits for the Ring of Fire. We will unleash the production of chromite, cobalt, copper, nickel, platinum, and others. We will also commit $1 billion over 3 years to help the Ontario government build the highway to get there. I hope that highway will be built with your asphalt, with your concrete, and with your hard work. The supplies that you make here that are so often made in Sudbury will be absolutely necessary to build the infrastructure to get the minerals to market from the Great Ring of Fire. We will let companies investing in the Ring of Fire share some of their federal corporate tax with local First Nations to help lift them out of poverty. And many of those local First Nations are strong supporters of this project. I think of Chief Cornelius of Webequie, of Chief Bruce from Martin Falls. They have actually met with me and asked for this project to go ahead as soon as possible because they know it will make them richer and better off for the future. And because NATO has identified many of these critical minerals as necessary for our common security, we can count some of the expenditure on the road towards our NATO 2% target for defense. We'll make this money available by cutting foreign aid, bureaucracy, consultants, and other Liberal waste to free up money for productive investments. We'll unleash the production of our resources for our benefit. Only a Canada First Conservative government will rapidly approve projects like these. We will repeal Liberal Law C-69 and instead grant rapid permission to our companies to build more pipelines, more natural gas exports, more data centers, more mines, and more projects of all kind across this country. We will stand up for this economy and our people. We will also repeal the entire carbon tax law on consumers, on industry, for everyone, for good. That will protect paychecks and bring production home. We'll also make sure that, speaking of home, that home will be safe again. We'll carry out the biggest crackdown on crime, illegal border trafficking, and drugs, so that you're safe again. I know that people in Sudbury no longer feel safe. When I crack down on crime by locking up criminals with jail and not bail, we will re-secure our communities so our children can play safely in the streets. Most importantly, we will become a strong, self-reliant, sovereign nation to stand up to the Americans and stand up for ourselves. We will reward work, unleash entrepreneurs, harvest our resources, make our own goods, trade with each other, build homes for our youth, rebuild our borders and military, honor our history, and raise our flag. And most of all, we will restore Canada's promise. A country where anyone from anywhere can do anything, where hard work gets you a great life in a beautiful home, on a safe street, protected by brave troops under our proud flag. Canada first. Let's bring it home. Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Thanks a lot. Thanks, guys. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. We will now take questions on the floor. On va maintenant passer aux questions.
Hi, Pierre. I'm Lindsay Alick from CTV News here in Sudbury.
Hi, Lindsay.
Would you support processing of these critical minerals right here in Sudbury?
Absolutely. We should process the minerals right here in Sudbury. and in countless other communities across Canada, but most importantly, Sudbury. Sudbury is the hub. It's the hub for the supplies that go into our mines, but it's also the hub where the minerals should go to be refined, upgraded, and then shipped to market all around the world. This is a place where we have the expertise, the workers, the financing, the population, the geography, and I can't wait. I think that it is going to bring billions of dollars through Sudbury. So my message to high school students, get started on a pre-apprenticeship. Start learning a trade. Because when you get out of high school, you're going to be right into a full-on apprenticeship, and then you're going to be into a $200,000 a year job working on mining and mining-related positions. It's going to be an incredibly bright future for our incredible workers right here in Sudbury. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question. Prochaine.
It's clear that President Trump wants the Liberals in power because they will keep this country weak. After 10 years in power, the Liberals have given us the weakest economy in the G7. They've doubled our housing costs, driven $500 billion to the south, all while Mark Carney was economic advisor to Trudeau, and while Mr. Carney moved his corporate headquarters to New York. Do you know that he moved his headquarters to Trump's hometown 6 days after Trump first threatened to tariff Canada? While these people here were worried about losing their jobs, Mark Carney was busy moving jobs to Trump's hometown. That's exactly the kind of weak, compromised, conflicted leadership that Donald Trump wants, and it's why he endorsed Mark Carney yesterday. What Canadians need, though, is a leader who's tough and firm and stands by his convictions. A leader who will make Canada strong, self-reliant, and stand on its own 2 feet. A leader who will put Canada first.
Thank you. Next question. Prochaine question.
Harold Carmichael, Sudbury Star, Post Media. Mr. Poilievre, you've admitted your political style is a little too blunt, too direct. Are you going to soften or amend that style leading up to the weeks and months of the next election?
I think we need a strong leader who will make our country strong. You know, Canadians are nervous right now. They've been suffering after the lost Liberal decade, raised their cost of living, made it impossible for them to buy homes, unleashed crime in our communities. And I've been very blunt in speaking out about that. But I'll also be very blunt about speaking of solutions. My solutions are very clear. We are going to lower the tax burden so that these hard workers back here keep more of their paycheck. We're going to get rid of the whole carbon tax so that businesses like this not only survive, but grow. We're going to repeal the anti-resource laws, and we're going to unleash the production of our resources. We're going to lock up the criminals, secure our border, and rebuild our military. That's how we're going to make our country strong and sovereign and put Canada first.
Thank you. That concludes today's press conference.
Thank you very much,
Ça
everyone.
conclut la conférence de presse.